1, 2, 3. Good pigeon. Walking down the street after lunch on 66 between 1st and 2nd, and I saw a little pigeon who was, huddled up against a tree, and he was clearly injured because he was missing all his tail feathers and back feathers, and because that made him so much smaller, at first I thought he was actually missing a part of his bottom. So I went into the cafe and brought back a slice of bread, see if he wanted anything, and he clearly had a will to live because immediately he started pecking away at the crumbs I dropped. And there was a vet right across from him, so I went in and they said they didn't take pigeons, which was not unexpected because I, brought pigeons to vets before and it's very hard to find somewhere that will take them. But they did give me a towel to wrap him up in, and I was near the Animal General Hospital, so I rolled him in the towel. He looked like a little burrito or something. He was very cute with just his head poking out. And we get there, and now they weren't taking pigeons anymore, which was very irritating. They weren't even very nice about it. But they told me to go to this place on, I think, 88th and Columbus for birds in New York wildlife. They have wildlife rehabilitators there for birds. We got there, and thankfully Rita, the wildlife rehabilitator, was there, and she immediately checked out Pidgey. She was really nice about it, which I was so thankful for because most people don't take pigeons very seriously, and in my experience they'll say things like they're so weird or sometimes you're so cute if you try to take a pigeon in. But she was very concerned for his welfare and his comfort, and she showed me how to take care of him and gave me some medication. I took Pidgey home, where I set up a cage for him inside a pet carrier, and I had to give him medication each night by pulling the top of his beak open and stretching out his neck, which he was, and sticking the syringe down his throat, which he was not pleased about at all, and putting ointment on his wounds, which included, a couple of places where his muscle was exposed under his wing. And over time he grew to hate me because of that. So and they'd taken a poop sample, so I came and picked up more medication for him and took that home, and by that time was giving him 7 syringes worth of medication every day, so he began to really loathe me at that point, which I took as a good sign. And a little while later I called and talked about how I thought there was something wrong with his foot, so I took him in, and they weren't sure if there was nerve damage or if his muscle had just atrophied. So they put what they called a foot on it, which was sort of like a little splint that kept his toes stretched out like that and kept them flat because he wouldn't unroll his toes. And he was walking around on that foot, still limping a bunch, but really putting his weight on it. And he started flying around the room and pooping on everything very prolifically. He was a prolific pooper. And after a while, you know, just very shortly after we actually cut the splint off and he started flying everywhere he wanted to be out of his cage and he was cooing, we knew it was time to set him free. My parents and I took him up to where we found him on 66th, and we opened his box exactly in the same place, and I thought there might be some hesitation, but he hopped out right away after a quick inspection of the surrounding area and, you know, walked a few steps and just flew across the street, where immediately a male pigeon started puffing up and cooing and circling, and we knew that Pidgey was a girl at that point. So we watched her, and then, you know, a few minutes later she flew between a crack in two buildings and was gone. And I still look for her on the streets, but I have yet to see her.
Oh, look, it's perfect.
Maybe.
When I first picked up Pidgey, I didn't actually expect to have to take care of her. I thought I was just going to be dropping her off. So it was a surprise when I learned that, in fact, I was going to be bringing her home. And even though I've always loved animals, I had no idea what it was going to be like watching her grow and get better. And when we finally let her go, it was like I couldn't help but cry, because it was so beautiful to see this once injured and dying bird go off like that, like it was a symbol of freedom or something. And I'm so happy for her, but I also miss her a lot, and I don't think anyone in the family will ever forget her. Model bird.